Dear Dairy. Saturday. Saturday. Which doesn't really, I don't know. Nobody says that I know. I mean, there's always the Sunday for like monster truck rallies and truck and tractor pulls and things like that. But you don't really hear that many people saying Saturday. But it is still Saturday. So I kind of figured out, sort of, what was going wrong with Neverwinter Nights. Or perhaps it would be more specific to say with OBS. OBS does not, it will not capture and therefore stream game footage for games that are full screen. It can't see it. It can see the mouse cursor, but it can't see the game itself. So you have to window it. The problem is that Neverwinter Nights, if you look in the options section, doesn't really have an option for windowed mode or windowed full screen. There's full screen, and that's kind of it. But what you can do is you can open up the INI and you can put in full screen equals 0 and allow full screen equals, or allow windowed mode equals 1, and it'll still look the same. But then you can hit in OBS, you can set it to a hotkey capture instead, and you can set it to hotkey so that you can be in Neverwinter Nights and hit F12 or whatever you set the hotkey to. I think it's F12 by default, and it'll start capturing. The problem with this is that it doesn't catch the opening movie bits. So it's got like the, Atari and the, and all the different licensees that were involved in making the game, and the intro movie. I can't show the intro movie because it doesn't show. OBS doesn't capture it. Once it gets to the game menu, yeah, no problem. It captures that just fine. And then I can play and it goes through and does everything. But you can look up I really wanted to show everybody that opening film, but it's on YouTube. I mean, if you really want to look it up, you can look up, Neverwinter Nights opening video thing, and you'll see it. Opening cinematic, or Neverwinter Nights intro movie, what have you. But yeah, it's so I should be able to stream it on Tuesday with no problems. What else? Somebody just turned on the exhaust fan in the hallway, so I'm sure that's going to alter the sound of my movie, or my this thing. Now I'm distracted. All I can think about is I had set my noise profile before I started recording, and so if I try to, when I finish doing this and I start editing the video and I start trying to do the noise cancellation on it, it doesn't have that in the recording. So I'm going to have to create a new noise profile when we get done. It doesn't take more than a few seconds, but I mean, you heard on the last one how odd it sounded when I was talking. It was very faint, but it was definitely there. And what it is that the noise profile takes those noise frequencies and cancels them out, which some of those noise frequencies are also in my voice. Or if it doesn't strip those frequencies out of my voice, when I'm talking, it can't cancel them out. So you're still, part of the sound sneaks back in while I'm talking. So when I'm talking, you can hear part of the fan, or part of my voice sounds like it's not quite there. Anyway, damn it, there was something else I was going to. We were just watching episodes of. We have some guests over this evening who had never seen Stargate SG-1, and I was in the kitchen starting my dinner, and I hear the music. I'm thinking like, wait, that's the Go Old theme. Somebody's watching Stargate SG-1, so I go peeking my head in there, and they're on like the 5th or 6th episode of season 1. I'm like, ooh, you're still right in the beginning. And so we watched like 2 or 3 episodes. It was cool. Um, I had an idea today. For those of you who've been watching me for a while, you know that I used to be on a podcast called Into the Portal, which was about EverQuest Next and EverQuest Next Landmark. Now, EverQuest Next is sort of EverQuest Next Landmark, which is now just called Landmark, was sort of the I'm getting a bunch of shadow on my face all the time. EverQuest Next Landmark, which is now just called Landmark. Wow, deja vu. Is kind of like, Minecraft on steroids, for those of you who've never seen it. It's an incredibly powerful building tool for EverQuest Next that is basically being handed out to the fans so that they can start, building the various assets that can, not necessarily will, but can be used in the game. Now, Landmark isn't limited to, okay, it's got to be a fantasy style. You can build, big walking mech robot things, spaceships, whatever you want in Landmark. But the stuff that's going to be imported into EverQuest Next, that's got to fit the fantasy motif of EverQuest. Anyway, I used to be on the Into the Portal podcast before I just decided that, Landmark was not something I was ever going to be involved in. I am not a builder. I'm just not. And they were like, well, there's going to be quests and stuff too. I said, to what end? What are the quests going to get you? And it's like, get you new tools. I said, for what purpose? And they're like, for building. I said, I'm not a builder. See point one. It's just, I appreciate, ow, I bit my tongue. I appreciate the, what they're doing, and the tools that they have made are incredible, and Landmark is astounding, and it is a beautiful thing. It is simply not for me. EverQuest Next, that's a different story, and so it is entirely likely that I will, take an extreme and very dedicated interest in watching the development of EverQuest Next, because I was interested. That's what drew me to the thing in the first place. So I'm really eager to see more of what's going on with the development. But I was talking to Locke today on Skype because since I haven't been on the show, I've just fallen out of the habit of communicating. We talked every week, it was awesome. And I've fallen out of that habit because I'm not on that show, and I'm focusing more of my attention on Star Citizen and my voice acting career and everything else. So I hadn't talked to him in a while. And so we were talking on Skype, and as we were talking about EverQuest Next and ESO and a bunch of other, making comparisons between other things, between other MMOs. Part of the thing that came up was, oh my God, because I was thinking about, kind of when I say the end game, I don't mean you're now level cap or whatever, and you're just going and doing raids. When I say end game in this case, I mean the game is out and you're playing. That all development is done. And I found myself thinking, wouldn't it be cool because we got to talking about the different uses for voxels and whatnot, and you can build with them and do all sorts of neat stuff. And so I got to thinking about, old school tabletop stuff, and even with Neverwinter Nights, there were certain things, especially in the persistent world modules that came out for EverQuest for Neverwinter Nights. There were times where you had to have, very much like old school D&D, there was a verbal spell component, there was a somatic spell component, hand gestures or something that you had to do, and there very well could be a material spell component, some magic, diamond dust or something that you needed for the spell, some kind of a chemical reagent to trigger the thing. And I thought, what if they did the same sort of thing in EverQuest Next? Ermagerd. It's like, and what if the voxels were part of it? What if, let's say I wanted to throw a water bolt, at somebody to stagger them, to throw them off balance or knock them down, or just soak them completely wet so that when I threw a frost spell at them, it did more damage to them now because they're wet. But in order to do that, I had to have a water voxel I mean, you wouldn't call it a water voxel. It would, be called elemental water or whatever. I had to have some with me, and I could use that, and that was my material component to throw it at at my thing. And if I ran out of those, I can't cast that spell anymore. I mean, I can go to any body of water, and pull some elemental water out of it, and I've replenished my supply. So it's not like it's that hard to get. I mean, even if I've got a canteen, I pull some out and just throw it. The canteen, water skin, what have you. But I mean, you have to have this elemental thing in order to cast a spell like that. There is this material component. And then I thought, God, what if you are out of stuff and you're in a desert? I mean, on the one hand, it makes you much more careful about when and how often and why you cast your spells, because your mana doesn't just regenerate. You don't just miraculously get your spells back. It harkens back much more to old school, stuff where you got to be careful. I mean, there's an element of strategery to to this sort of thing. You can't just go casting willy-nilly. Not like WoW and everything. We just wait a few seconds for your mana bar to fill back up and then just start going again. I thought, this would be so cool, kind of thing. It would make it a much more hardcore game. Even if it was just a checkbox or a slider or something that they put in to, do you want this hardcore spellcasting thing? It annexes in this new rule set. Okay, you're going to have these things. And I was like, what would it be like if I was out of elemental water? I didn't have any more, and Locke, through, and I had this this kind of cinematic in my head of these two mages facing off, and one of them is out. I mean, he has no more elemental water. So he can't cast this spell again. And the other mage, either he doesn't know that, or he knows it and thinks, and just wasn't thinking, or something. And he can't, he just throws a huge gout of water at this mage. Now, you've got, this huge thing of water coming at you. And you have the choice of, either resisting it, kind of bracing yourself magically against it, dodging it, out of the way, just, to let the water bolt fly past you, or, and here's the hard part, you intentionally let it hit you, and in the process, pull some of the elemental water out of it to replenish your supply. Problem is, if you are not resisting it or dodging it, if you are allowing it to hit you, you are going to take even more damage than you would have in a normal fight, where you would have, just normally been fighting and you weren't trying to think. The problem is, I mean, that seems like, like I said, the cinematic in my head is this, it kind of goes into bullet time, and this mage is either just letting it hit him full on and, trying to draw this stuff out of him, or he's, dodging, and as it's going past him, you see this momentary look of, oh God, this is gonna hurt, and he reaches into it as it's going past him and pulls out, this elemental water, and you can just see his hand is torn up, from this thing, and like he drops it into the other hand because his hand is crippled. I mean, screwed up. You take if you do this sort of thing, you take a lot of damage for doing so. I mean, that is the trade-off. Yeah, you can use part of this guy's spell to recharge yours, but it's going to hurt a lot. And for those that think, well, water is an element of life, you can use this to heal yourself. It's like, okay, so you use this elemental water to heal all the damage. Now your elemental water is gone and you're fully healed, and you're back to exactly where you were before you dodged the thing. So why'd you do it anyway? It's like, I dodged so I could grab this thing, and got yourself hurt in the process, which you now your intent. What? Never mind. You understand that thing. Anyway, I'm just thinking that would be really, really cool. So I'm going to get in touch with some of the folks at Sony and see if I can pitch that idea to them. I think it would be very cool. I mean, you could do the same thing with, it's one spell. And depending upon whether, I think this part was Locke's idea, is that it's one spell, but it depends on whether you grab a water voxel or an earth voxel or a fire voxel or whatever, to cast it. It's like a water bolt or it's a fire bolt or it's, whatever. Just cool stuff. Because maybe if you use earth, you knock them over, you bury them part way, or you cocoon them in like rock and everything. But in doing so, yes, they're mobilized, but now they are heavily armored, so you can't damage them. Yeah, they're effectively frozen for a little while, and they can't move and they can't attack you, but you can't really attack them either without setting them free. So I guess that would be kind of a stay and you take off and run, kind of thing, or something. I don't know. I just think it would be kind of neat. And so other spells with other elements. Maybe you can mix elements. You can mix fire and water and earth and make flaming mud. Well, boiling mud. So that's heat and air and water and earth. Yeah. Oh, it's just boiling mud, and you just throw it at somebody and scald their face off like some kind of a horrible elemental drag queen. Just slap your face off. I don't know. Anyway, so that's what's been on my mind for the last little bit. I'm going to go eat dinner, and I will talk to you guys later. I think I have a nice little thing for Motivational Monday. I'm looking forward to this one. Somebody sent it out today, and I was like, ooh, oh yes, I will use that for Motivational Monday. Definitely. It's about value. Not like, getting the most for your money, but well, kind of. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys about it day after tomorrow. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow, and until next time, be careless.